We are here to talk about how we protect our peace from systems that extract labor from us and do not necessarily do a lot of investing back into us. Because surviving and thriving in today's workplace requires a mental armor. And I mentioned to you, especially folks on TikTok, if you're not familiar with the A2H framework, it's the Aspire to Higher Personal and Professional Development Companies framework, which I developed. It is 10 elements of success for your leadership development. That's personal and or professional development. And the mental armor you need to survive and thrive in today's workforce is built into those 10 elements of success. And so the longer you are a part of the A2H community, you are bound to learn all about them and then become so familiar that you embody the elements of success. So let me tell you why we are here and welcome people who are joining and give you the grounding for what this work is. If you're feeling isolated, exhausted, or just straight up manipulated in your workspaces, let me see you put your fist up in the comments. If that's you, Substack and or TikTok, let me see you drop your fists in the comments if you can relate to feeling isolated, exhausted, gaslighted, and just straight up manipulated or lied to in your current workspaces. Let me see you put a fist in the comments. You're not alone if that is you. And I want people to understand that that is what this Live in 5 Protect Your Peace session is about. I'm still seeing a lot of folks over on TikTok joining. Welcome and thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the fist in the comments. Let's go. We don't have to go through these kinds of environments and experiences alone. So again, if you're here and you're ready to talk this through, let me see you put your fist up in the comments. If you're dealing with gaslighting, manipulation, toxicity, poor leadership in your workspaces, we are here to protect our peace from that. I am here to model what it looks like to use reflection practices to protect our peace from those work experiences. These companies, we know that right now they are cutting investments left and right. They're putting profits over people. And we are the people who are feeling the impacts of that. And so, due to that, we need to do things like this in community with each other to protect our peace. We're not just going to woosah, and I'm not going to just, wellness tip you to death. That's not what this is. This is really about us digging in to who we are, which, if you're part of the A2H community, I call you day one leaders. We could talk more about that later. But this is about us fighting back, not just taking a day off and breathing through it. No, this is about us fighting back with strategy, with intentionality, to combat what would inevitably happen to us, which would be burnout and stress. So, again, to the newcomers, if you're here as a newcomer, I'm inviting you to this community to build your resilience muscle. We have to have a resilience muscle and a mental armor to deal with those things. And so that's what our community is for tonight and every Wednesday when we go live. We use a reflection practice called the Think, Feel, and Know reflection practice. Actually, I believe I always flip this around: feel, think, and know. 3 quick questions that you can ask yourself every single week, sometimes at the end of every workday. For quite a bit of time, I had to actually ask myself those 3 questions on a daily basis when I got in my car driving home from work, or once I got home and spazzed out with my partner, telling him all the dumbness that went on at work today, right? Once I got past that, I would sit down and I would ask myself, Stephanie, let's think about this strategically, because this is not a Stephanie problem, right? These are systems issues. That is where we sit in the Protect Your Peace sessions. We talk about these things from a systems angle, not an individualized or personal level, because these are not personal issues. This is a system that is extracting labor from us, and we are feeling the impacts, and we need to protect ourselves from it. So we use the feel, think, know reflection practices in order to do that. If you've never heard of that, go to the Aspire to Higher website. Just click the link in my bio, click on the human algorithm link. It'll tell you all about how to use the reflection practice, feel, think, and know. All right, especially for those newcomers, go get into it. For those of us who have been doing this on a regular basis already, and if you've been following my TikToks and my Substack articles, you know what this is. Let's breathe. Let's talk this through together. Did you have a rough day? Have you been having a rough week since last time? If you've had a rough week since last time we were here last Wednesday, let me hear you put you in the comments. I want you to say, yes, sis. If your week was rough in the comments, I want you to say, yes, sis. It's been a week. Well, for this week's session, I promised you every week I would have a topic for you. It's not just let's sit and do feel, think, and know. We have evolved a little bit with this session. So we're going to talk this week specifically, and tonight we're talking about exhaustion is real. The exhaustion is real. But again, remember, I asked the question of you. If you're here and you've been having a pretty tough week, please tell me, yes, sis, in the comments. I want to see it. The topic is exhaustion is real. I want us to have we're going to have two prompts for our discussion tonight. And even though we will never stray far away from the feel, think, and know reflection practice, that's always going to sort of be sidebar to our discussion. But today, I would like us to talk through how do we name institutional exhaustion without blaming ourselves. Again, I'm still saying hello and welcome to the folks who are joining. My question for us is how do we name institutional exhaustion? How do we name institutional exhaustion without blaming ourselves? Because let me remind you, I said this in my introduction a few moments ago. These issues, these feelings, this heaviness, the exhaustion that is real, that's not a personal problem. And I don't want us as people to internalize that, right? Think about this from a systems perspective. These systems were designed to work to profit the companies, and the systems are not broken. They're working the way they were intended to work. Their design is working. And a lot of the time, people feel stuck. Like, I have to stay here because I need my check, right? Where else am I going to get this salary, these benefits? I put in 7.5 years already. I've been here 10 years already. If you're at a job that you're questioning, sometimes everybody is not having the same experience. So I don't want to uh, overtalk this and make it seem like everybody here is having the uniform experience. Maybe you don't feel stressed at your job. It's not toxic. You don't feel burnout, but you're misaligned. You're feeling like I'm not quite getting what I need from my career. It could be a little bit of misalignment. But how do we name things like this that the system is producing without blaming ourselves, without internalizing? This could be just misalignment for you and not toxicity and not burnout. Oh, TikTok is a beast. Somebody talking about you look 90. Listen, if this is what 90 looks like, I'll take it. Okay, somebody said 90. Okay, because at first I thought you was trying to tell me I just look old as hell. They corrected. This is over on TikTok, y'all. 90 out of 90. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Now, listen, I'm not going to front. It's a Wednesday. It's hump day. So, I feel like I'm a little rough around the edges, but I'm not here with you all to be pretentious and to be made up. Um, I know you messing with me. I'm picking up what you're putting down now. So thank you. Um, but again, I don't come on to my lives to be surface level and to like be superficial. No, I want you to see these effects. You have a good day too, sis. Thank you. Or partner, thank you for being here. Hey, Yasmina. All right, let me get back to the script. Let's talk this through. I want to give you a little bit of what I think. When I ask myself the question, how do we name institutional exhaustion? Without blaming ourselves, I still ask myself that question and apply the feel, think, know steps. So, what I feel and what I felt when I was in a very stressful and toxic work environment, I felt a bunch of stress. I felt anxiety. I felt that I was being lied to. Anybody ever feel it in your bones when you know somebody lying to your face? There is a physical reaction, a visceral response for me that sits in my body when I know that I'm being lied to. And that was happening to me in my workplace. So that was something that I felt. The first step in our reflection process is naming what we feel was harmful. And being lied to at work is harmful. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Because you think you're doing well or you're doing one thing, and next thing you know, the game has changed. And that's not a good feeling. So, in order to name what is happening, I then want us to move on to what do we think about that? I work in HR, lied to every day. Ooh, that's funny. I mean, I'm not going to agree that I'm going to affirm that is your experience. Thank you for sharing, sis. Someone said they work in HR, so they lied to every day. Listen, that's real. That is the real experience of that person. Some people really love HR. I'm not here to beat up on the HR people. I had an encounter today with the HR area of my former employer. There are a few people still there, few and far between, who I'm like, it's a get out moment. They calling me like, do you see anything else out there? Since you already out there, do you see anything? Because I'm looking too. So, I'm not going to give HR a beat up session, but I hear you, sis. Actually, I want us to now move into what's the institutional practice or the things happening within the institution causing the exhaustion. We talked about what we feel in our first step. I named for myself, I felt a response, a visceral response in my body to lies. So that's one thing. And I don't know how you felt when you realize, hey, I'm being lied to. This is not what I signed up for. But then we still do it for quite some time. We still get the work done. We do have to keep doing the work. Here's the point of our reflection today in regards to this question. Are you picking up what I'm putting down with this particular question? I'm asking it in this way because the subtext here is that this is not something you should be blaming yourself for. So when you get home from work and you think I'm just gonna go work out, I'm gonna take a long walk with my dog, I'm just gonna play some good music, because how many of us, when you got in the car at the end of the workday, turned your music up to 110 so that you could get through that commute and just come back to who you are? How many of us have done that? Put your hands up in the comments if you have done that. If you get in that car when you leave, and that's just the people who have to work in person. I was in an environment where I had to return to in person work. Even if it's just, okay, I close my laptop and you immediately turn on something and you blast, you go you go hard. How many of you are doing that? Put your hands up in the comments. I absolutely was guilty. Absolutely. I see a hand over on TikTok. I just need to know. Sometimes this is what we have to do. Here's why we have to do that. I want to actually name this. That's what these sessions are about. Taking the ownership and the onus off of you. You're not trying to hype yourself up after work because you sucked at work all day. Now, if you sucked at work all day, we have to have another session. That's another conversation. But 9 times out of 10, I would venture to assume that this conversation that you're a part of is not because you sucked at work. It's because your work environment sucked the life out of you during the day, and you needed to pour something back into yourself. You needed to fill your cup back up. That's what you did in order to get over the impact that the system was having. That extraction of labor pulled from you, and you needed to fill your cup back up. All right. I saw a couple of hands on TikTok, and I appreciate that. I want to talk now about we have to also move into what do we know? What do we know about what's happening? How do we identify? We've already talked about I feel this. I think the system is extracting. I think the system is lying. We know those things. Name the system that you know is being protected or being prioritized over you. Even in my question, I'm almost giving you one of the answers, and that would be profit, right? Hands down, that's generally. I'm making a generalization, but most people can say I'm having some connection issues over on Substack. I'm sorry about that if you're losing me on Substack. Most of us can say that our organizations are putting profit over our needs as employees. Most of us can say that. If you can name a system practice or something that's happening within your workplace that you know is being prioritized or protected, no matter its effect on you as the employee, drop it in the comment for me. Just name something in the comments that you can relate to on that question. As we do that, I want you to think about what those impacts have been. And remember, yes, exhaustion is real, but we have to not internalize it. This is a systems issue. It is not a me issue. It is a systems issue. This is why we are identifying. It's why we are identifying what part of the system is coming from. Because once we know that, I believe in the Aspire to Higher movement, we have to be smart. And if anybody out there looks like me, you got to be 2 to 3 times smarter than the other people in the room. So you have to not just be reading the room in terms of body language of people, but what is the context and the subtext of what's being said around me? Who's being invited into spaces? Who's not being invited into spaces? What does policy say, right? And then ask yourself to notice and think about how is policy enacted? Whew, back-to-back projects with no consideration of the day-to-day work. That listen is that's human capital. No consideration of day-to-day work of the human capital. I can't say enough about that because these organizations they know full well that their human capital is their largest asset. I mean, aside from whatever service or product they are providing, without their human capital, they're not moving no weight. They're not moving no units. They're not doing whatever it is that their job is. So their human capital is supposed to be being invested into. And when I talk about investments, especially investing in your people, when I talk about that in the context of this protect your peace conversation, that should be larger than their paycheck and their benefits. Thank you, Adrian. Um, yes, I am in the US. Yes, I am. Trying to answer questions and then continue to talk this through. I am in the US. I'm in North Carolina. I'm in NC. Hey, DJ Complex. Thank you for being here. All right. Human capital being important is one thing. But I also talked about on this live before, give me advice. I'm not sure tell me what kind of advice you need about the US. Are you coming to the US to work? Because this that we talking about is what's happening in the US in workspaces. And where are you coming from? Tell me where you're coming from. I talked also a few lives ago when I first started these Protect Your Peace sessions about the human debt. What you describe, sis, in the comments is what I call it, the human debt. The people are the ones paying the price. Um, and so I want to be clear, coming from Lebanon, yes, because I was born in Lebanon, my mom is Lebanese. I got a good friend that is Lebanese, and I continue to pray for the Lebanese and Lebanon in terms of what's happening. And so I hope you make it here safely. I'm on here every Wednesday having conversations, so this is a good way for you to stay connected. Travel safe. Um, Human debt are the impacts that the system makes us feel as a result. Hey, I thank you for saying that. Thank you. Thank you. These sessions, someone said I adore these sessions. Thank you. They're important. Let me give y'all the next question because I don't want to belabor any points and I want to keep you engaged. And if you're still with me and you're joining, I want you to place a yes, sis, in the comments if institutional exhaustion is part of your experience right now. Put a yes, sis, in the comments if institutional exhaustion is part of your experience right now. Before I got on live today, I just want to share with all of you that I've been marinating and really reflecting on this topic today. The exhaustion is real, and thinking about institutional exhaustion. I see the yes sisters coming in, so thank you. I also see somebody said, whatever you say, mommy, it's whatever I say. Okay. Listen, TikTok is not what they I'm liable to get anything on the TikTok streets, but I appreciate the conversation that I also have on TikTok. Today, knowing that I was having a Protect Your Peace session, and I've been doing some writing and just thinking very deeply, going through my feel, think, and know reflection practice. I really looked at everything today through a lens of what institutional practice is happening here that's making this happen. I am dealing with right now an experience with a parent who is a disabled person, and um, I've been very, very thoughtful and reflective about what I'm hearing from my parent who is disabled, who wasn't born disabled. They've become disabled in their life. So they have been a full able-bodied person their entire lives. And then in recent years have since um, become disabled. And now we are experiencing life with them in a new way. And we are starting to see the impacts of the way our systems are designed with full able bodied people in mind. Still, the practice of placing profit over people being the norm. Namely, let me just give you all a real example that's not just about your workplace or mine, but this parent is really having a very difficult time navigating and dealing with this huge organization who provides their motorized wheelchair. and the motorized wheelchair continues to stop, and it doesn't work. The battery drains very rapidly. And so they've been trying to submit claims to get new batteries and order new batteries. And the way that the company functions, their systems and their processes, it's really burning me up as both the daughter of this person and an equity and inclusion practitioner when I hear what they are experiencing when they submit their requests, when they have a service technician call them and cancel the appointment that they were supposed to have. The impacts of that poor service delivery or that system being flawed is that now this person who is disabled cannot leave the home without a motorized wheelchair. They've had to cancel medical appointments. They've had to cancel things that were very important because of a failing system, because of an organization like, listen, they're putting profit over the needs of the person that they're supposed to be serving. They're doing things like coming out for service appointments and not having the materials they need to provide the service to this person. And you know that this person is fully disabled. And they're like, listen, ma'am, I can't come back to see your and see about you or fix this issue for another 3 weeks. Oh, so you know, first of all, they can see that that person is immobile. I cannot move and leave my home until this wheelchair issue is resolved. And you are okay to tell me I won't be able to help you for 3 more weeks. So make sure you reschedule. But you canceled the appointment, sir, technician. What I'm sharing with you is an example of exhaustion and the human impacts, the human debt that has to be paid when systems are not designed for inclusion and for equity, but also when companies just put their profit over people and the needs of people. That's just a real world example. I don't know how the people who work for that company feel internally, but the way that they function in society, in the world, the way that that system is supposed to be providing a service to the customer, it's not it's not producing greater access, which is what the company is supposed to be doing. Y'all don't get me started because when we start talking about people who are supposed to be providing inclusion and access and they aren't, it just makes me angry. For the sake of time, I would like to ask the second and last discussion point for our session tonight. I want to know for us, since we're here and we're trying to do this to protect our peace, what does rest look like when you are still in the fight? Now, for newcomers, I would like to just be transparent and share. I'm no longer caught up in the system that was producing these results in my life and in my body. I made the decision to resign. I called it relocating my excellence. But some of you didn't have the opportunity. You haven't hit that point yet where you need to resign or you're going to resign. So if you're still there, what does rest look like for you? Because you're still in the fight. If you don't mind telling me in the comments what it is that you do, what practice are you already employing to try to rest in between things, in between all the shenanigans? We've heard some of the typical things before, right? Don't respond to emails after hours. Make sure you set boundaries. Those are cool practices, but I want to ask you about we're talking about institutional exhaustion, and we're talking about the physical and real impacts of that. How do you recover from that? I would like to hear anything from you. I just want to make sure I didn't miss questions in any of these chats. Laughter with friends, okay. Thank you, Meg C, for responding to that. Laughter is such great medicine. Music is also a wonderful um, way to I think invest in yourself and to facilitate healing and rest. I had a good friend send in a group chat a really like supportive and inspiring song for us all to listen to. And it just happened to be a song that was already one of my hype songs. So, kudos to them. And like it just really lifts up your spirits. So thank you, Meg C, for sharing. Laughter is important. It's important to be able to laugh, not only to just bring levity, but we know that there's been research, medical research, that tells us laughter helps to improve our physical condition. Somebody said breathing over here. Over here, I go outside on hikes, dance, and sometimes create something artsy. Come on, artsy. I want to see what you're creating. Yes, use your creativity, invest in yourself in order to rest. Rest does not mean it's not just about stopping activity or sleeping, napping. We talked about on the last live, quick vacations don't fix systems issues. So I wanted us to get into some of the other things that we do. Breathing is very important. There are so many breathing techniques that sometimes I used to have to actually employ in my workspace, in my physical workspace, whether it was after an email or someone literally approaching me to talk to me about something that I knew was some foolishness. I was like, okay, I can't remember. Someone gave me a technique. It was called the 3-2-1. There's a box breathing method. Uh, there are many breathing techniques. I'm not a wellness practitioner, I'm an equity practitioner, but I understand the importance of wellness. Also, hugs. If hugs are your thing, go for it. And as long as the people you hugging are open to the hugs, I'm assuming that you're also saying receiving hugs. Yes, box breathing. Box breathing is clutch in the moment, isn't it though? Because the way it helped me to keep my job for a little longer. I'm loving the way we are talking to each other on both of these channels. These are some ways people are sharing with me the ways that they rest while they're still in the fight, because we have to do that. We have to replenish. I was going to say replenish. I know it's getting close to time for me to close this live. We do need to replenish um, what is taken and depleted from us while we're working. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to say this as I begin to move us to wrapping up. I'm not here to just say that work and workplace environments are all terrible and like everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. That's not the way the world works. We require organizations, and we live in a capitalist and consumerist society and world. Our whole world revolves around capital moving. And that requires us to, as people in the world, to contribute to that and to work. So I'm not here to beat up on anybody who has to be in any particular workspace. 5 things you see. Thank you for sharing this practice. 5 senses. 5 things you see, 4 things you touch, 3 things you smell, etc., etc. Those are also good. That's a good practice to do in the moment. That's a mindfulness practice. Yes. Thank you for sharing that with everybody. It's called the 5 senses. It's a quick practice you can do internally. If something's bothering you or you're triggered, you can ask yourself, what are 5 things I see? What are 4 things I can touch? What are 3 things I smell? What are 2 things I hear? What is one thing I'm not going to do? You get the drift, though. That is a fantastic way to find rest and reflection while you're still in the fight. So, again, I want to reiterate to everybody who is here, protect your peace sessions is not just, it's actually not at all about focusing on toxicity. It's not about focusing on what is wrong with me. It's not a woe is me moment. This space is community space. It is space for us to build our reflection muscles with feel, think, and know as a reflection practice. We come here also and we learn from each other in the chat, other reflection, meditation, and mindfulness practices. So, even this is something that helps us to find rest while we fight. Even though I am outside of the system, I removed myself from it. I'm not sure what's happening over here on my TikTok. I did not ask for a guest, but thank you for coming. I digress. Just because I'm no longer in the system, I still have impacts. System impacts are can be long lasting. And so I want you to remember that. Thank you for being here, but we're actually about to wrap up. Continue to listen and catch us next Wednesday. Maybe I'll chat with you then. Thank you. Thank you. As we wrap up, I want you to think about using the feel, think, and know reflection practice in your day to day or in your weekly activities. I'm going to need somebody to tell me what it is I can do to have my live be, hey, I'm about to wrap up, but thank you for joining. Hey, thank you for joining. I want to finish. I have a script. There's a whole thing I'm working through. This is cute. Next week's topic, because I want to get into what are we talking about next week. We come here every single Wednesday. TPAC, since you here, let's just get into what's happening next week. We do live in 5 every 5 days. So today's Wednesday. So in 5 more days, we coming back here, 7 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. Next week's topic is because we are brilliant. Next week, I want us to focus on our brilliance. Somebody said, those people is funny. Yes, I'm actually live in 2 spaces if you didn't know. And so I'm talking to multiple cameras. Our topic next week is still how do we protect our peace? And then we're going to do that with a focus on our brilliance. Because what I specialize in is helping us to recognize that you can relocate your own excellence and focus on your brilliance. So that's our topic next Wednesday. I need us to continue to focus on how we can reflect, breathe, and rest when we need to. Thank y'all for being here. This has been a really exciting Protect Your Peace session. Remember, you are the human algorithm, and I want you to continue to use the A2H elements of success to help you to protect your peace and build your career resilience. So let's protect our peace together. I wish you well. I'll see you in 5. Y'all have a good night. Hold on, I'll stop one and talk to y'all. Protect your peace and come back here next Wednesday.